Oh my goodness, I need to be bigger than that. Hey, everybody. Hi, happy Friday afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I wanted to make sure that everyone saw I flashed up everybody's comments here, that everybody, just so that I know, 95,000 souls in the house today. I'm so excited. If you are new to my channel, my name is Ray, otherwise known as Life and Vibe, or Life and Vibe, otherwise known as Ray. Just to give heads up, I am a licensed registered nurse here in the United States with a Bachelor of Science in Nursing and have a lot of credit hours towards my graduate degree studies, trained to be a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And though I do not treat or diagnose anybody in these videos, I obviously do use my medical expertise to bring about conversations around health and how people potentially, I think in Tim's case, there is some medical, in my opinion, scamming going on. And we're going to go over, because he mentions the stress test again, and I'm just going to show more evidence that there is absolutely no way in a million years that Tim was probably ordered this test. Despite whatever he wants to say his coronary artery calcium score is, none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. But anyway, Dr. Falcon's here too. Mark is here. Got Stacy in the house. JRIRC. Oh my goodness, I probably said that not the way you want it to be pronounced. Stacy's here. All sorts of good people. Gen X is here. Thank you guys. We are also not only are we going to do a couple of reactions today, obviously under fair use, we are also going to be talking about the next stages in the legal action that I have had to find myself a little bit embroiled in with our good friend Sarasota Tim. Really, and I have to thank all the support of everybody in this channel who has been so generous, really as a community. Not that we're brigading, and I think I should probably make a video about, well, we'll probably talk about brigading as it goes along. And obviously I keep some of the things with the legal actions that Tim's receiving a little bit under wraps, just because obviously we're still in the midst of all of these things. And so we don't know what's going to happen. And so I can only reveal but so much, but obviously let people know, because Tim wants to call it misinformation and that you shouldn't watch other channels and what they say. And I have a great feeling that he will never mention the various legal notifications that he has been receiving. Now, I know a lot of people, so I think we'll kind of get along to that too. So, but I wanted to thank everybody for their generosity, because it's it's coming in lots of different ways. And so as a community, because it's not just me, I've just been the person targeted, because I know that for absolute solid, I would stake my nursing license and my upcoming nurse practitioner license, of which I will just let everybody know I have completed all of my advanced practice, all of my advanced classes as far as being able to start to treat and diagnose, not only kind of in the general field of medicine, but also in the field of my specialty, which is psychiatric mental health. So I very much understand how to create 3 different differentials and to work with a patient. Obviously, you have to do a physical assessment, which I have never done on any of the people I speak to on YouTube, which is part of the reason why I can't really give a full, I obviously don't have access really to their lab work. Tim doesn't really give a full picture of what his true lab work would be. And so it's difficult to really ascertain what his cardiovascular risk, because Tim supposedly has never had a history of any cardiovascular disease. We know he's had no percutaneous coronary intervention in his lifetime. He's never talked about a coronary stent or a heart stent or any of these things. And so he would be a new asymptomatic. That means a patient without symptoms. He has never spoken of chest pain, shortness of breath. He said he passed the stress test with flying colors. All of these there are multiple, and I'm going to show you different sources, guidelines, the U.S. Preventative Task Services, Preventative Task Force Services. I can't, is that one's always a U.S. Preventative Services Task Force. There you go. It's different sources of what we know to be evidentiary evidence of evidence. God, that made sense, right? What we know to be actual evidence in order to treat and diagnose patients, and what guidelines we follow in order to, recommend testing, medications, lifestyle adjustments, labs, whatever it is. We have multiple guidelines based on evidence, and none of the things that Tim says follow any of those protocols and guidelines unless he's just found the wild west of absolute diabolical worst cardiologist in the whole of goddamn America. Pardon my French. I'm not going to cuss because YouTube got upset with me because the last time I spoke about Tim and my belief that he and Fred, I'm sorry I'm not taking a good look at the chat. Hey, Miss Vicky, come on in. Sorry, I'm just ranting. TH Reese sausage. Yeah, he did. He did. I had a really, yeah. So anyway, we're going to talk about it because he brings it up in one of these videos. So we're going to talk about a variety of different things. Happy Friday, I shouldn't rant, but it does make me really irritated. And so Tim did get sent a counter notification, as we know, because I'll hook you guys with some of the legal stuff real fast. Obviously, he has not done anything. He's not removed the copyright strike. It is Tim. Okay, it's unless somebody like sabotaged and broke into Tim's email account from Yahoo from years ago, it's Tim. Because what anybody who knows who has a YouTube channel, when you create the channel and you put it on that email address, you're going to be hard pressed to change it from the actual email of your original setup on the account. You're going to have a hard time. Now, you can change your email address multiple times on your about section. It's like almost an act of Congress to change anything on Google. It really is. You literally have to go and set up a whole new Gmail. And he would then have to lose his Sarasota Tim channel because he set this channel up years ago when he was doing his detailing videos and his gun and his naked shirt guns and whatever the heck he was doing long before he hit that Social Security. And so that one just happened to, it still gets views. Anyway, Tar Heels Forever says, Dimbo, remember you reap what you sow. You just didn't sow preventative maintenance of your health. Oh, and this is just, we're going to talk about it because he really does. And I'm sure some of you may or may not have caught up his video. The couple that he had, I know some of you may have, but he certainly did complain about the cost of dentistry. And nobody has ever said it's inexpensive here in the US, but neither is dentistry school. So it's like a systemic thing, like we need to make the education less expensive. Obviously, this is not a political channel, but obviously dentists, they tend to, and the services like the making of the crowns, all of these lab services, the cost of their employees, the business, it is not inexpensive to run a dental practice. Now, do they make very good money? Yes. But these are well-educated medical professionals with years of schooling that do a very specific job that is very hard and is very taxing on these people. They have like one of the highest rates of unaliving themselves that you can imagine. And it's so stressful. You stare into people like Tim's mouth who has not received dental care. I mean, the man needed a scaling. And it feels like to me that Tim is finally adulting. He is 66 years old. He will be 67 at the end of this year. And he is just, I feel like he's just realizing that he needed to take care of his health, and he's realizing he needs to be an adult in some ways, but in a lot of other ways he's not, because he's obviously spent probably the majority of his money on the cars and the camper and the crushers, various crushers. So for him complaining about a little bit of a dental bill, which is a lot, but when you probably lost more than that when you traded in the truck because you drove 2 new trucks off the lot, and everybody knows the amount of money that you just lose from driving a new vehicle off the dealership lot is probably more than the cost of your dental care, Tim. But you laughed and you giggled and you love to show off to your subscribers that you are buying all these fancy, you know, cars and trucks. Most people know that you don't get that sort of stuff unless you've taken kind of care of everything else. I mean, that just doesn't make good sense. Catherine says, yes, you had one dentist who left this world voluntarily. I'm sorry to hear that. Yes, it's a really, hey, blind views, come on in. Well, I'm glad you said hi. Yeah, he says he'll have to sell everything. Yeah, and we know that's not true. We know that's just a please. Can we have some more? So let's get over to this original video. Let me share this tab, and then we'll talk. He's going to talk about stress tests. So I'm going to verify once again that, in my professional opinion, and I will say this, that Tim is not being truthful about having seen a cardiologist, and he's being shameless. He is absolutely shameless. It is so bad, and it's to me, it's not very kind to the field of cardiology, of which I have friends and have worked in that field for quite some time. And if my friend were not so shy, and probably wanting to remain professionally, i.e. her keeping her professional, you know, image off of YouTube, she probably would, she already texted me about it, but obviously I can't even show her name. So Tim, you know, I would love to have her further explain how this is not a probable scenario. But as I said, myself, I have completed everything that allows me as a future practitioner to go into clinical practice now and treat patients and prescribe medications at this time. I am at that place in my graduate studies. So I'm waiting to go into my clinicals. I'm getting my preceptors taken care of, but I have all those advanced classes. And I was an A student. So I can let you know that Tim's story, in my professional opinion, is fake. And I will stick to it. And he needs to respond to me legally now about this. Anyway, yeah, so pathetic that Dem now is bad mouthing dentists. Oh yeah, he bad mouths everybody except for like car dealerships and, you know, anybody who's going to give him like a discount. And the dentist isn't going to give him a discount for being mentioned on the Sarasota Tim YouTube channel. The dentist is not going to care one way or the other. So Tim is obviously just full of his religious.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Sarah.
Tim, please, you're too soon because we're gonna get past your cheesy theme music. But let me get go. I think I put him at 1 point. What did I put you at? 1.5. Oh, that's even a little fast for me. 1.25. Okay. So let's put him on. There he is. There's Tim. He is he's a big liar. He is. Emergency visit to a massage therapist. 3 times the speed. Unfortunately for me, in my ear for accents, his is a little difficult for me. If he's a little slow at 1.25, I will go to 1.5. And I have no problem doing that. But like I said, sometimes he's got that Southern boy accent. Miss Ray tries to, and I try to listen a little bit to the intonation too. So if you have or have not seen, obviously Tim is coming out strong today. Now at this point, I had originally thought the cease and desist, and I know a lot of people laugh about these, but Tim has actually had pointed out by my attorneys, and there's quite a few exhibits within this cease and desist. So this isn't just any type of cease and desist. Tim actually is probably going to have to hire an attorney because he has 8 days, not actually 7 now, to respond. And as I've said, a sunglass emoji with on the sun and a crushing it and a rock emoji or whatever is not going to be the type of response that we're expecting. And Tim has violated a lot of YouTube's terms of service. In fact, Tim was sent a copy of the terms of service by my attorney for him to read. So he understands how his behaviors, and it's not just the frivolous copyright filings that he's made and removal requests that he has made that he still has not removed. And he's very well aware, as we know from his sermon video the other weekend on Sunday, that he's obviously got something in this email that he's aware of, but he's taking the, I guess the, oh, I'll just he won't pay any attention to it, and so he's not going to respond to the counter notification. He's just going to let it go, and show that he just didn't do anything. He's probably just going to have no response, is what I'm thinking. But obviously, in light of knowing this would be Tim's actions, and that Tim has done quite a lot of harm, and not just alone, but in concert with other individuals on YouTube and subscribers and supporters and the people that he has asked to, make sure that they report videos just for using his material when he doesn't even understand what fair use is, which my attorneys, which is all of our attorneys, okay, because all of your contributions, and you all know who you are, and keeping a lot of people's names private, but there are other creators whose voices had been silenced by Sarasota Tim, who obviously are also, people that I kind of, I don't want to say anything, but we all know. And so I think as a community, we are supporting the voices. Those of you who have sent supers, who just are watching the stream, who like it. I haven't asked anyone to like it on the way in. I think Nightbot will show up. Have helped, obviously, try to educate Tim about his bullying behaviors online, and how asking his subscribers just to report channels and not really having a reason to report anybody, I think, and just calling us haters and so forth when we're making commentary. And I have a gentleman who's literally being a medical scammer here. And that, to me, is one of the lowest of the lows you can go. When you're lying about seeing healthcare professionals and then you're bad-mouthing that professional along the way, in my opinion, is not a good thing. So I have to say, my professional opinion. I'm sorry if I'm ignoring. Yes, thank you, everyone. Please hit the like. I know everyone's having fun in the chat. So anyway, let's go back to Tim. I'm going to let my moderators take care of the chat. So I'm sorry, everybody. We obviously have a lot going on. So today is the day, actually, that Tim got his cease and desist. So we thought he could have a nice weekend and start his Friday off great, because now he's gonna need to hire an attorney, because he has to accomplish certain things. Otherwise, there will be further things that could happen. And my attorney has pointed out quite clearly can result in the loss of his channel. And so he's standing out here in a redeemed t-shirt with like the cross on it, which is just so... What do you, Tim? Seriously, please. This is almost comical. I mean, and then right here, Tim is reflecting himself in the infamous Fridgegate refrigerator. Just about a year ago, Tim was revealing himself naked in this very refrigerator. Very clearly, too. Oh, just panning that camera across. Okay, I better undressed. I have to watch my language. I think I got a little feisty, and YouTube slightly demonetized me last time. They didn't fully demonetize me, but they said I was not suitable for all ads, which I guess my language got a little too adult for YouTube standards.
Not lie. I had to take a shower, wash the sleep off. A little extra cream in there. I only used 1 bottle of water this morning with 2 scoops of coffee. One of these right here, these, how many ounces is this guy? Let me see. Where's my sea rights? I just had them. Here they are. Got to have sea rights to find my sea rights. We got 20 ounces, even ounces right there. So that's a couple of cups of coffee. We don't need to raise that lid. 2 scoops of Maxwell House. And we'll shut that off. Woo.
And everyone's pointed out there's no way you could be at a stress test and then let you have coffee. We're going to look at some of the stress test stuff. We're just going to listen to a little bit of this part here. I think he talks a little bit about the dentist at the beginning, and then we'll skip over to the other one where he starts really complaining about the dentist.
What a day. You don't think I feel it? I definitely feel it from getting out there and polishing. I would have made more videos showing how that machine works, which was amazing. I read a couple of your comments saying, wow, I got it. That is the best cup of coffee I ever drank in my life. Dang, that's good coffee.
Yeah, he got temporary teeth and a cease and desist from an attorney. Or 2 attorneys from a firm. That That's what Tim got on his Friday. Happy Friday, Tim. I wonder if he's going to be out dancing to the live music tonight in Sarasota or Bradenton or wherever he was last weekend. I wonder if he's out celebrating in his redeemed shirt. Because he's going to need to get somebody to respond to this. He's not going to be able to do it on his own. He's going to have to put out money for an attorney, and they're not cheap.
With that heavy whipping cream. Maxwell House, baby.
He's going to lose his channel otherwise.
I was reading the comments about getting several of those.
I can't say that, though. I can't.
They stick on like with Velcro.
Maybe that's why YouTube got upset with me last time. I don't know why YouTube. They just said my video about his narcissistic lies, my legal update. I don't know why on that one they made me not suitable for all ads. I think it was because I cussed a lot in that one. Maybe I used too many cuss words. So I got to be careful this time, guys. So put me on a count if I cuss too much.
The pad, it's a sponge pad, and it really sticks on there. I took the hose about every time I used it and rinsed it out. It didn't hurt that it was.
No, it's unusual to see Americans drink instant coffee, Catherine. Most Americans will drink ground coffee. Most of us have a coffee maker right on the countertop. It's almost like sacrilege to drink anything that isn't ground.
Damp, and I could press it down on a towel. That pretty much dried it out too, but it was a little bit damp. But I did that. I
is that what happened?
It builds up so quick you can't.
Oh, thank you.
Especially if you got any oxidation. It's just that there was dirt on the camper, and we just had a rain, so I really didn't wash it and prep it first. The camper.
All right, Tim. Tell me you were a detailer without telling me detailing was what you did at that car place. All right. How long does he go on about the detailing? Let's skip him along. I don't really care how he waxed and polished an RV.
On Facebook, there's several of them. And I might buy it so I can get on top of the roof of my truck, which I can get up in the bed. I really don't need it for the truck.
Yeah, okay.
Crowns on my upper
here we go.
left area. And then there's only about 7 to go.
Let's go back a little bit. Okay, so we finally got to some dental part. Okay. This is the only part I'm interested in. And, this is where Tim suddenly realizes he has to be an adult at 66 years old, I'm guessing. I mean, yes, unfortunately, in the United States, dentistry is not inexpensive. Tim, I don't know whether you should go to Mexico. You're not very polite, and you may find yourself, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're going to have you do not treat people outside of the United States or anywhere actually, particularly kindly. You think you do, but you're really not.
I'm getting the hole in my head repaired. They're going to put in not 1, but 2 crowns on my upper left area. And then there's only about 7 to go. No, but I got to do these right away, and then we'll see what happens. The cleaning yesterday, the scaling was intense, wasn't painful. I got the numbing with a Q-tip.
Why wouldn't he wash it first? That doesn't make sense. That's like part of the whole process. If you're going to do anything like that, you got to wash it first. Why not do the prep work? That makes sense. See, Tim. And he wants to call himself like an RVer. And this is why he doesn't need a passport to receive dental care in Mexico. I don't know if he has a passport or not because he's been cruising a lot. So I don't know if he needs to cruise. Oh, it's terrible. He's like really not received dental care his whole life. And he's like, and he's now shocked that he's had to have so much done. I mean, he's going to go on more about it. I promise you. He's irritated. Well, you obviously haven't checked your email box, Tim. Check that. And then come back and let me know how you feel now.
And some, numbing stuff that she put on a Q-tip, dug down in the gums there, got it down in there. I got this treatment of this chlorine, fluoride, antibiotic, all kind of wash afterwards. And let me tell you, I'm a bad boy for not going and getting teeth cleanings for so long in between.
Well, then how do you have the audacity to talk about health is wealth and all these things, Tim? You have no... Tim, at 60-some years old, your partying ways and your need to entertain yourself over care for yourself in some ways has caught up with you, not with the cardiologist yet. That is Fred's story that you have absconded with.
That I required the scaling instead of a cleaning, and that won't happen again. I'll be doing routine dental cleanings for the rest of my life, because I'm not going to spend this kind of money for these crowns and then have more teeth. Just, you know, it's such a bummer. I hate to even talk about it because of the expense.
I'm sorry, Tim. I don't know if people really, if they understood, apart from your sycophantic fans in your comment section, whether or not it would be easy to have a great deal of empathy or even sympathy for somebody who chose always not to work enough hours in the week to really do anything other than put a few $100s in your pockets to, you know, entertain yourself. You did not think that you needed to be responsible for yourself as a physical human being in some ways, other than to entertain yourself. And I think that it shows a very, very marked, in my mind, and this is just my opinion, from a psychiatric point of view, a very large lack of insight and judgment on Tim's part throughout his life. And so it seems ironic that he wants to purport himself as any type of health expert or social security expert, any of these things, because we all know he didn't prepare for any of it. The only reason why he's sitting in an RV and looking like he has any type of wealth, in our opinion, is because he was able, and we have the evidence because we see it. We've shown the PPP loans and all of his different loans that, and I think even the EIDL I've been able to pull up. I know I've definitely pulled up the PPP, that you've had almost $80,000. And of which you didn't take even care of your health. So and then you'd probably love to push that onto the American taxpayer as well, Tim. You paid off your own personal debt with that money. That's why, and then you want to talk about cardiology appointments and this $45 copay and that. And there's no way that cardiologist would have ordered, or even the primary care, nobody would have recommended or ordered those tests, and because it's very much not recommended as part of guidelines. And I'll show those guidelines, and we have to follow these things. We really do have to show evidence of what we follow. We can't just willy-nilly say, have somebody walk in and not follow the protocols and guidelines. That's the important part, evidentiary guidelines. So his cardiologist is not going to go off base from what we're taught to follow. But Tim seems to find the wildest people. Now, I think he probably genuinely is going to a dentist because his teeth have not looked good. Anyway, keep going, Tim.
Man, that's good coffee. Let's go outside.
Make sure they like.
All right. Let's get this. By the way, I made the video on installing my RV lock V4 model.
Okay, so I think at this point he just goes off and cooks his breakfast now. So we're going to go to his next video because I think at this point he's just cooking breakfast. I don't think he talks much more. I don't think. Does he about any of his dental visits? I can't remember. I know that he starts cooking breakfast. I don't know. Does he talk more about his health? It's a wee house. Oh, it's because he's got his RV and his RV park. He's got a little shed. That's a shed, his little wee shed. Let me see. What we got here? Let me see if we got dentists talked about any further after. Okay, it was only at minute 4. Let's see if he talks about health. Other past. No. Money. Some of Tim's favorite topics. Okay, so he's pretty much talked about everything he's going to talk about on his, and so now it's just cooking breakfast. And Tim's a terrible cook, so I'm not even going to subject people to Tim's terrible cooking. Okay, so we've got a new video now. He's got 2 new teeth. Oh, there we go. When he's got a letter from the attorneys too. He probably hadn't seen that when he was leaving out the dentist's office, because the attorney sent the letter at about 11:30 this morning. So, and we sent it to his 2 email addresses just to double ensure that Tim took a look at it. Because he likes to check his emails because he's always looking to see what Jim Bauer is sending him. Okay, so
Hey, how's it going?
oh, not right there, Tim. Because let's see, does he put his music in? Yeah, let's get past the music. All right, let me see. Why is it? Is it this big on your end? No. Okay, there we go. All right, guys.
I'm going to tell them when I get there, though, when they're done today with the temporaries they're going to put on. And I got this from a movie. There's not an original bone in my body. Another line. And it was from True Grit. And the girl is trying to get her money back, sell the ponies back. Her father bought geldings. He meant to buy
what are you talking about?
Studs.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell them today, when I have the crowns in my mouth, not the temporaries, I will remit the extortion money. I don't know what I got to pay them today. I don't know if they want it all, half, some, none. I doubt none, right? It cost me $300 yesterday. It was $250 for the cleaning, scaling, only the bottom, and I went.
Oh, seriously, Tim? Already, man? I mean, we just got started in this one.
I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have this dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
Jeez. You know what? I'll give you guys a confession. I looked to see if Judge Joe still did cameos. And I was going to try to get him to do a cameo telling Tim to stop, that's dry begging. You know what that is. I was going to get Judge Mathis to do a cameo. I didn't care what it cost, but he doesn't do them anymore. So I was bummed out. See, that's what I spend my YouTube money on. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be amazing if I had been able to get Judge Joe to actually tell Tim to, no, sir. Tim simply, that's dry begging, Tim. You know what that is. And dry begging, Sarasota Tim. I would even have him say Sarasota Tim. That would be classic. I was so sad because that's exactly the message I would have had him do for us. That would have, and I did look. Oh, I was disappointed. Okay, Tim, I cannot believe you just had to throw out, how expensive your dental visit is. Well, we know. I mean, I've had to have implants and all sorts of stuff, Tim. Worse than dry sockets. Oh, gosh. You've never been $500 for upper and lower jaw just for the cleaning. Oh, it just must be bad. Well, maybe it was so, I don't know, because who knows with Tim. Let's see what he says.
Went ahead and paid up front the $50 copay to go to the endodontist to see if I need a root canal. But that's not until May 1st. I'm going to walk out with temporaries today. What do? Take these things off and on? Is it going to come off while I'm eating?
Yeah.
What's the deal here?
Yeah, because they have to make the crowns, Tim, after they've made the impressions. And they've already got everything cleaned up and ready to go. So when you go in and the ceramic is done, they put it on. And you're in and out the door. But they have to do all that work. That's how they do it. I know because I've had it done. I'm somebody I have talked to about it. I think we did this on our members only. So if you're a member, you can, and you haven't had a chance. Sometimes we talk about these other just erroneous. We go off and we just chat about stuff because that's what members only is about. But and we react to stuff too. So there's all sorts of fun stuff. If you haven't had a chance to join, YouTube tells me to promote this stuff. I know that Old Grifters Anonymous has a new channel. He was giving me a hard time, but attorneys are expensive. The cease and desist that Tim received is going to make his teeth feel even worse today. And it really is pointing out if he doesn't comply to certain things, we will be making other legal actions, and that he has violated so many YouTube terms of service at this moment in time. He should have his channel taken down just for the number of violations that he has made with the brigading, the false copyright removal requests, the harassment, the cyberbullying that he and his cohorts, like Chris Google Maps and any of the other people who just feel like it's their place to come in. Like, we make comment and criticism around Tim because I do really believe that he's scamming people with, especially with the cardiology stuff. And I don't know about with the teeth. His teeth did not look good, and I can believe he never really got dental care, and that he's, a tooth chipped, and he really is at a place where if he doesn't do something about it, he's still going to have expenses, either full dentures or you try to save what teeth you have. And it's going to cost him probably upwards of, with the root canals, shoot, they come in what, $1,200, $1,400 a piece if you don't have insurance. And Tim doesn't carry dental insurance. He hasn't thought to join the AARP and get Delta Dental at $60 a month or whatever that you can do. There's other ways that you can supplement on top. He doesn't even want to spend that money. Take it from people who spend a lot of money.
So I'm getting 2, and they're going to check for root canals on, I suppose, all of the teeth that she recommended crowns for. I just pray that the 2 that are absolutely needed now do not need it. It's my understanding that a root canal is like $1,400 each.
Right.
This is really nuts. If it turns out that this kind of extortion is going to be required, I will have to...
There's a speed camera ahead.
There's a speed camera ahead. It's a school zone, but it's not school.
Well, I think that a lot of these dentistry plans, unfortunately, have a very low payout, and that has been something that has been set in place since like the 70s. But it's better for him to have something than nothing if he's really going to have to get in here and get crowns and any type of dental work, or see what other types of plans are available. But if he's really going to have to try to get this type of work and root canals and so forth, he is going to have to try to see what type of insurance even could supplement, through some type of organization, because he's going to need something. He's going to be, and then he's got to pay for it. He needs to pay for an attorney too. He's not going to be able to get away from the cease and desist without an attorney. He's got 7 days to respond. And Tim doesn't have the ability to respond in the manner that he needs to. And if he doesn't respond appropriately, and he has quite a lot of requests, then we go to further legal actions. And it's not a joke. And he has to respond to the attorneys. And at those points, you probably need to get an attorney to look at this paperwork and see what your case is. Because he's been explained how he has... YouTube really should take his channel down because he's violated so many terms of service. So many. So, and we got to involve Chris Google Maps too. So there you go. So yeah. So Tim is totally, if he thinks this is bad, you should see how much I just paid for the attorneys at the law firm, Tim, and they were reasonable, and it's still not inexpensive, sir. So you've got some real pain coming, to the pain where you could, if things, like I said, I have so much evidence now in the cease and desist that I can submit this to legal at YouTube and have your channel potentially taken away, in my opinion, because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. So that's why I say hit the likes, everybody, and everybody who's like sent things and so forth. Your crown costs $800, no insurance, no insurance, copay was $1,200. Yeah, that's good too. The Delta got all crazy like that, and they pay for all your cleanings plus watch cartoons. My teeth, I've never growing up. You quite a look of non-perfect teeth, perfect straight white is not real. Oh yeah, that's a sign of a veneer or a lot of crowns or potentially some dentures. But yeah, all right, Tim. So yeah, just make sure to hit the likes because that helps me, guys. Keep hitting Tim with these attorneys.
But see, Google's smart. I will have to sell my house, my car, and
Yes,
my watches,
exactly.
my Invictus, my fake Rolex,
Or at least you have to keep the
the
plan
car,
for
the
12
truck,
months.
everything's got to go.
Either you have to keep the plan for 12 months or they make you wait for 12 months. One of the two. The only way they don't have that, I think, is when you have like employer insurance. But if you're kind of getting it out of pocket, they have a lot more restrictions on their coverage.
To get a tooth. Well, what are you going to do? So it's right in the middle of the day. It's such a beautiful day. I just took the truck and got it washed. So I have a nice clean canvas. I'm going to go over that. I'm going to put a mojo on it with the DA polisher.
Well,
I'm going to go buy Harbor Freight.
I have lovely teeth and I do not have a yuck mouth. These are actually real, the front ones. They still haven't had anything done to them. And I never had braces. So I was actually blessed with naturally straight front teeth. And then over time, my bottom teeth were pretty straight when I was younger, then they became more crooked. So I was very blessed on the respect that I never had to get braces, but I was just absolutely very unfortunate when it came to bruxism and everything else. I got really the short end of the stick there. So you win
Grab a
one and
couple
you
more
lose the other.
pads. I'm going to get at least one more. So when one's been washed, I can just throw another one on.
That's a great
and
point.
go over the truck.
Dr. Classy Badassy, that's an absolutely great point right there. And I want to highlight this one. What is nuts? Tim is spending $5K on guns. So has anybody heard him complain about the pew pew costs or the 15 shirts or whatever, rather than taking care of your teeth? What happened to health is wealth? Or when he decided to trade in the F-150 for the F-250, how much money do you think he has lost on driving both of those vehicles off of the lot brand new? I was looking at some cars today because I had a state inspection and an oil change for my vehicle. And so obviously my vehicle's like over 4 years old. It's still a great little car. It's great gas mileage. It's small. It's a little SUV crossover type thing. So it's got like a little bit of an SUV feel, but not, completely a big SUV type car because those are expensive. And I was looking at the dealership and I was thinking to myself, my goodness, these cars are wild. I was like, 42,000, 52,000. And even the model on my vehicle, if they have, because they remodeled the body style for this year. And I looked at what those were called, and it was a little bit bigger than it used to be. It was $30-some thousand. I was like, oh my goodness. That is, in my estimation, when you consider what the average salary here in the United States. And of course, like the guy came out, this is the funny aside. This is my Sarasota Tim story moment. Oh, I had a horrific incident. I'll save that one for the Foodie Beauty that I'm going to do. Because I got 3 differentials for Foodie Beauty's bulging, leaking eye, and none of them are good. As I said, I have taken all my classes to do all the treating and diagnosing and prescribing of patients and labs and everything. So I can, I just don't have any physical assessment. So I can't actually get to like any type of potential singly saying this is the diagnosis and that's the prognosis then from that diagnosis. Don't have that ability, but at least can come up with 3 differentials. So anyway, back to that, the dealership guy came out and was saying that it's the best time ever to trade in our cars. We could get more money than ever on our cars. And what about something about the tariffs? And they were trying to get us to do all these types of deals and stuff. And none of us moved. He's like, you guys have all got great records. I was like, if you looked at my car, every time you tell me I need to do a brake alignment or something, I say no. I said no for 4 years because I have friends who work in the auto industry. He's like, and I know none of you have had any of your friends under the hood. I was thinking, God, mine had all sorts of work done to it. Anyway, so it was just funny. It was just funny that was the conversation. Okay, let's get back to Tim.
And then I'll do the car. And then I'll do the camper again. Like I said yesterday, my friend used to say, after you go over it about 2 or 3 more times, should be about right. So away we go down here to...
I need to be kind.
Towards the Gulf of America. I'm going to turn right here. To get the Let me mute that. It's going to talk to me right now. Muted. And get the extortion work done.
Continue
Yeah.
on 51st Street
Hey.
West for
That's
1
pretty
mile.
good.
I told you to not talk. There you go. Muted. Oh, man, I'll tell you. I hope in the end I feel good about it. I have some really good self-esteem about the cleaning I got done yesterday, the deep scaling cleaning on my bottom teeth. She wanted to do the top, but when I was leaving, they said, no, she can't come back that soon for that because of what they're doing here.
Dang. See, this sounds much more like a truthless story than the cardiology. I can believe that Tim chipped a tooth because we've all noticed that Tim has not obviously seen a dentist the entire time that we've watched him on YouTube, which has been some time, and that his teeth, with all that coffee too, you can imagine how stained they must be. I know he mixes it up with some cream, but sometimes he just does the black cowboy coffee. His teeth must have been terribly stained. And he just, just didn't care as long as he wasn't getting nerve pain. Oh, just
or due to my cleanings that are covered partially. I don't know about scaling, but something I got on my disadvantage plan. I got to come back in 3 months. So,
yes.
and I'll get the top done. But let me tell you, I've learned my lesson. Do not neglect at least getting cleanings. And if you haven't had a scaling done and you haven't.
Yes, you have to take care of your teeth. There's just no two ways about it, unfortunately. Having regular cleanings and getting your dental care. And unfortunately, Tim is going to find once he gets those crowns. And any of us who've had the pleasure of having to deal with crowns and so forth, every 2 years we have to get like these full panoramic x-rays in order to check underneath the crowns to make sure they're not having a problem underneath them, because they still get problems. And so that's something I've had to deal with. And then I've had to go to have an implant. And I know that there's one that probably is going to be on implant watch at some point, because it was a tooth that I fractured probably 30 some years ago when I wasn't wearing a night guard all the time because I was in my 20s, and now I religiously don't not sleep without a night guard. I mean, I've had so many night guards. It's insane in my life. They finally had to give me the most reinforced with it looks like it's got like gold thread through it. It's wild.
Anything done in a while, that's what you need, not a cleaning. A cleaning doesn't do crap. They're gonna have to get in there with that chisel and hammer and break.
No, I don't need any of that, Tim. I'm told that literally I don't ever, when I go into they don't have to do that for me. They have a little bit down here where it's probably where my night guard also sits. So they have to get a little bit of that plaque away. And then it's pretty much a clean and a polish for me. I mean, just like a polish. There's no scaling. There's none of that needs to be done. Well, I'm quick in and out. So when you have had regular dental maintenance throughout your life, it isn't that. It's better. I know it costs money. Yeah, I know. Welcome to capitalism.
Away that cement.
You love capitalism so much.
Then you can go back. You got to floss regularly. Then you got to go back every few months or 6 months, whatever it is, for the cleaning. But 99% of it is up to us to floss in that.
Oh.
I know I'm telling people right now, I've got dental hygienists, nurse.
It's because you can get endocarditis and all sorts of really bad diseases due to your mouth that go directly to your heart. They literally are like on a pipeline to one another. I have never understood how people cannot understand the connection between the proximity of your mouth to the proximity of the heart. It's so close. And obviously any bacteria or anything that, especially if you've got teeth that are rotting and gum disease. I mean, gum disease is really bad. And all of it can cause these bacteria that easily can travel to the heart. And then they can travel and they can cause endocarditis. They can cause valvular heart disease. I mean, the list goes on of the complications. I know so many patients that before they have their coronary artery bypass surgeries, because their teeth have not been well cared for, they have to have every tooth pulled out before they have the surgery, and they just have this like barbaric, I don't want to say barbaric, but they have like this one dentist at the hospital that just like gets these people, or they send them, they try to get them, I think, to a dentist, but there is like a hospital one that goes around and looks at people's mouths and stuff, because obviously doctors aren't dentists. This is a whole field of medicine all in itself, just the mouth and the teeth. That's how important and complex it is. So for you to have neglected them probably your entire life, Tim, is just really neglectful. And it's just, I feel that's another reason why you should not be giving advice to people online, because you just have been not adulting. I mean, if anything, you're a cautionary tale. Anyway, let's
nurses, all in my community, they're like, duh. But a lot of us, according to the hygienist yesterday, are just
I'm
like
so sorry to hear
me.
that. I'm really
They
sorry.
don't, they won't, they're
That's
not
awesome.
doing what they're supposed to do. So do it. And then you won't have to crush your credit card
I'm sorry to
for
hear that,
thousands
That's
of dollars.
terrible.
So they got this thing called care credit, where you can borrow money.
Oh my goodness. I guess Tim thinks his audience is also like him, has never sought any medical care, because now he's for the first time ever heard about care credit, which if anybody's been in any type of dental medical type office that has, you know, procedures and treatments outside of what insurance is wanting to pay for, or, you know, then you'll see a care credit sitting there. Tim acting like, you'll see it at a spa, for goodness sake, Tim.
From I think it's Synchrony Bank, that's hooked up with all these dentists. I think the credit is easier to get. I don't have any problem getting credit, but for those that don't know, because the money is only going to the doctor. You're not out buying a cruise or something. It's a credit.
Because that's what Tim would rather do. If he could figure out how to put a cruise on that credit card, he would. He's so bad, in my mind.
That, you know, they give.
I don't want to get demonetized
the
on
money to them.
YouTube for this stream,
I just saw a
guys.
lady run right over that curb with her car. Oh, we got rim rash now. So they got a 6-month and a 12-month interest free. And I don't have any interest free right now on my credit card. So that presents a problem when the first payment's due.
Yes, yes, he is absolutely. You are so right.
No, I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have this dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
And in honor of that, I'm going to dry beg and make sure you've hit the likes when you come into the stream. It does help the YouTube algorithm. I know it's irritating to say. Gosh, he's cracking up. It's cracking me up. Tim telling adults how they should floss their teeth. We learned that in grade school. Absolutely. We absolutely all learned that in grade school. I mean, I have like, they had, you know, the water pick and everything. I mean, it's like a whole dental thing that goes on every night before bed. Just to care for my very expensive maintained teeth. But hopefully I'll still have good teeth up until an older age and be able to enjoy food and eating, and it's prolonging my health. And so it's, to me, it's been a cost well spent. I'd rather spend that and know that I've got good heart health and I've protected my, you know, future longevity and that ability than having been on a ding cruise. I promise you, I sacrificed not being able to take a lot of vacations because I'm a single lady, okay? And if anybody knows who's single and not married, or like me, I've not been married. I got divorced a long time ago, I promise you. My life in the United States is, I've always been the only person maintaining my lifestyle. And there's like a single tax and everybody will let you know. So I've really had to, you know, make sacrifices. And one of them has been to the dentist. So pretty much every year I would be told I need to get this fixed or that fixed. And I also said, I told people I had this horrific dentist as a child in the UK who just drilled my teeth all the time without Novocaine. It was horrific. And I wondered how much he just did that to kind of charge money to the National Health Service, the NHS, because children were covered in the UK. Because I took very good care of my teeth as a child, and I never had any issues with my teeth with having that problem until I reached the UK and we had this one dentist. And like I said, I almost have my suspicions that he was charging the NHS for things, and doing the work or whatever, but not even, giving me the Novocaine, probably pocketing money and just doing work on a child who didn't need it done. I really sometimes wonder about that. And it's left me with a lifetime of just having to correct everything that he did to my teeth. And so because I flossed, I did all these things as a little girl. So it's, kind of hard to think. And so it's like, but I've had to. It's just that's something I've had to accept. My parents are responsible for my teeth at this age, obviously for many, many years. And so from a very young age, I became the person responsible for caring for my teeth, up to the point where one time I needed to get my wisdom teeth removed, and I alone took myself to the hospital. I had to to the physician's office, got the appointment, waited for a year on the National Health Service, took myself to the hospital. I was 20 years old, maybe. My parents didn't even, my mom and her husband, my mom left the country to go visit her family. And I was just left in the UK, and her step-husband, he didn't, or whatever, her husband didn't care. So I literally took myself alone to the hospital. I had to take a bus back from the hospital, but I was determined because my teeth hurt. So, and it was free. So I wasn't going to have to spend money at the dentist. So from a very early age, and then in Mexico, when I lived there, I obviously got all my dental care done in Mexico. So I've just done it my whole life. So it's very difficult to hear this man dry beg the way he is for his teeth. Sorry, I had to say a lot on that one. Because I know if maybe, and I'm a medical professional, not a dentist, but I've seen the effects of people not having dental care at the hospital. Let's put it that way.
So I got two options. I can either look for a credit card that has free interest for a year and a half or so, and apply for it, pay off this thing, because they only get.
Hey, why don't you see if Miss Tammy will give you an interest-free loan? Why don't you sell some of those dang guns, Tim, rather than dry beg your audience to pay for your dental bills? God, I hope none of his subscribers send him a dang penny. I can't stop anybody, obviously, but I hope they're wiser than this. But I have a feeling something like Angel Mission is not, in my opinion.
Give you 6 months to 12 months, and $3,000. That's a pretty strong payment every month to pay it off.
Oh, wild stories, Dr. Classy Badass. Wild
do
stories.
that. Just take their deal and make the big giant payments every month, so you do pay it off in time. But I don't know what to do. I really don't. I think there's not supposed to be a hard credit pull on your credit when you apply for this dental care credit thing.
I thought he was saying he had like an 800 credit score or something. So what are you worrying about, Tim? You just supposedly paid $40,000 off on the CC rider and had all this money. You're rich as anything. So why are you sitting here telling people about your problems? I've just thanked my community for being so generous with their AdSense. They're buying me a coffees. There are other ways that they've contributed money and so forth. And we paid for a very expensive attorney. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I genuinely have used these funds towards that. So, and all the memberships and community memberships, I can't thank you guys enough. And hopefully, I know Tim hasn't had a chance because he's been at the dentist all day, but he gets the joy when he opens up his email at some point, because he's going to open up that Sarasota Tim YouTube.mail at .mail or whatever that email address he has is on his about section. And it's going to be right in there. Big old cease and desist.
So, I don't know. Really a bummer, man. Why do they charge so much? $500 a tooth, $750, $1,000.
Tim, you think you're worth a bunch of money on that really terrible Social Security video? I'd like to know how much money you made giving out some of the worst advice known to mankind. How much did you make on that video? I bet it's more than what these people are charging you. So you probably made that in 1 month, because I think Darling showed it again on a video recently. Check out Darling's channel if you have not, and has pointed out, Tim, that you clearly made a lot of money on buying your coffees. So you need to please, you bought out, because supposedly in cash, a Ford 250, and you bought an F-150 and drove that off the lot and traded it in. So I know you lost money on the trade-in, Tim, because anytime you drive, so dentistry is expensive. They're expensive schools. Dentists obviously work hard. It's a specialty profession, Tim. Not anybody can just go in and start working on somebody's mouth. Okay? You could cause a lot of harm to somebody. These people spend a long time in school. A long time in school. It's a stressful profession. They're bending over and hunched over and dealing with nasty mouths all day sometimes. You have no compassion. You just want to complain about something that's actually going to create you having a healthier, longer life, but you rather go off on it. You just all about entertain me. You are a 14-year-old child in a 66-year-old man's body.
And all in
my
would
opinion.
be like the moon, and they got the audacity to charge what they do, and they're on every corner. I guess that's the deal. Yeah, they probably make more money than regular doctors. I mean, the only thing that's cheap. Oh, I heard them quote a price on the phone to someone to pull a tooth, $1,700. Last time I had one pull, I had one.
Have you seen the overhead these offices have? And the equipment that they have nowadays? It's not the equipment like grandpapa's back in the 70s, a chair and some metal tools. They actually have like some really sophisticated equipment. Some of them now, they just do like that little salt cleaning thing, whatever. It doesn't even barely touch your teeth. It's like magic in and out of that chair. Some of them are talking about they can make the crowns right there at certain offices. There's all sorts of things that happen. If you have into dentistry, it's a very specialized profession. Not everyone's going to be able to go into a route. Hey, Tim, wait till they tell you have to have an implant and you have to go see an orthodontist. You have a conniption. You waste $5,000 on some guns, of which you already have one. So now you have multiple. Or $160 on a pair of shoes. Because you think people are going to see you. But I promise you, Tim, people see your teeth. And they know exactly then when you're rolling around Sarasota, exactly the type of person you are. Because it's one thing, I'm sad to say, that democks people.
My rear molar pulled years ago.
Say, but it does.
It was like $500. And, I thought that was a lot of money. Well, anyway, folks, I'm on my way over there. And then I'm hopefully, done for a while. The 17th, I got to go hear about my results on that stress test. Everybody keeps telling me that they don't understand why it's taken this doctor so long to give me the results of the stress test.
Yeah, Tim. Why? Why is it taking so long to get the results of the stress test? Let me guess. Maybe it's because you're not somebody who ever would have been recommended to take a stress test. Let's go to the stress test thing. Well, let's hear them out, and then we're going to talk about why Tim, again, is totally not telling the truth on this one. And I there are people that say these folks are medical scammers. I'm trying to figure out what was it about my one. I can only think I cussed too much because for some reason it got slightly more. I don't know.
When I went in there with a calcium score of 1,511. In fact, the dental hygienist that cleaned my teeth yesterday, I shared that with her. She said hers was 3. And she said, something's not right there. That isn't right. That isn't. She must have said it 5 times. She couldn't believe her ears. Oh, there's a big full rent sign.
What is he saying? It's probably because she knew it wasn't true. And I don't even know how much of this story I can believe.
2 and 3 bedroom. But I said, well, it's true. It wasn't a mistake because the cardiologist told me that I shouldn't be alarmed. He's seen 5,000 and 6,000. So it's really just a formula to give them a little.
5,000 and 6,000? No, Tim. No, it's over 400 is a critically high. You're now saying it's 1,511 when you used to say it was like 1,575 and 1,576. Tim, you can't talk your way out of this lie. And I cannot believe that these nurses or whoever watch your channel. Well, some people are so good they just can't believe anybody would be a con artist. But obviously, these people did not work in the field of cardiology directly.
A little more information as to whether they need to proceed with more tests, which is what I'm doing.
No, Tim, because that's not how these stress tests even work. He's just he just wants to continue. This is why I find him really very stressful. He just keeps doubling down on this lie. In my opinion, it's a lie. He's an absolute scammer.
He warrants the more tests. But yeah, people just can't believe that number. And
yeah,
I know a lot of
because it's a fake number, unless it was Fred's. And then that would be alarming for him. And it doesn't make sense, Tim, as I've stated. No guideline at this time would have even looked at your coronary artery calcium score. It's not something a patient without symptoms would be ordered if you just were being seen by your primary care with a 254 or 34, whatever you said, cholesterol, which we did not know the LDL. So we don't really know what was the balance, which I don't even know if that really was your cholesterol score, sir. The way you complain and moan about any time you have to actually pay for medical stuff, probably really are having to get the teeth done, then you have complained about obviously the cost of copays for the cardiologist. But let's take a quick look at this stress test thing. I'm going to share this tab until, and I don't want to bore everybody, but I think it's really important because there's different ones. And if he was, there's no way, and Dr. Classy Badass, he can verify this. You would not start with a chemical stress test and then move to a exercise induced. It's one or the other, unless you started off on the treadmill and got so unstable that the next time they would move you to a chemical. There's no way they would have reversed it and then allowed you to have some caffeine and a cup of coffee before you popped on the treadmill. It's not happening. Just not happening. It doesn't even follow the guidelines. So this was just the overview of what the stress test does. And in reality, it talked about who should get them. And Tim has never had chest pain he's complained of. He's never complained of irregular heartbeats. He's never talked about dyspnea. He tried to show off with a bunch of, running and having his what was the other thing? Sprints and so on and so. He just waxed and polished an entire RV. Okay. Stress tests are also it's you have to have symptoms of heart disease. Not some just wild, supposedly out of no reason, coronary artery calcium score. Hadn't even had time to see if your statin treatments were going to work for you. Though I know you said you weren't going to take the Stalin medications, but generally you would, in my professional opinion, would have, if you were my patient and I was seeing you, Tim, on a primary care level, I would start you on the statin medication. If you told me you didn't want to take it, maybe we would try something different, azimuthide, potentially. We would start trying to make some dietary modifications, which would not include a carnivore diet at all, and then get you back in 3 months and recheck your cholesterol. There would be no indication if you came in not having any signs of chest pains, any history of any type of myocardial infarction, which they would wait a while to do a stress test, percutaneous intervention in the past. There's nothing. You have had nothing. There is no reason why I then, as a medical professional, just to check your heart out, would order a stress test for you, especially when you say your blood pressure is so great. So why? What indication would I have to order that test? None. And therefore it would not be ordered. So there's different types. There's the exercise stress test, That's the most common and the basic. And it just involves walking on a treadmill or riding a stationary bike. And there you'll have your exercise physiologist there with many of these people at the cardiac rehab. And they start to do this, and there's a way that they check it. Now, if you can't exercise, now how many times does Tim tell us he's off to LA Fitness? He's off to Planet Fitness. And he's off to walk around the park, wax his RV. Does that seem like somebody who would be incapable of exercise? No. Therefore, you wouldn't that's the only time that you receive the medications. So for Tim to show those, as we know, and I've said it, fake IV sites, and I if this is why I got demonetized, please make sure you're hitting the likes as you come in. Or join the memberships, please, because for some reason YouTube didn't like me when I told him that he was a narcissist and he was confabulating a story and using narcissistic confabulation. And I even asked for a human review, and YouTube still denied me. So I have no idea, because I've never had that issue before. The only thing I can think is that I cussed a lot in that live stream because I was pretty irritated with him because I know he's lying. And this is, and I'm also going to show you some guidelines. Okay. This is obviously from the Cleveland Clinic. So, just a medical organization, then you get the medications that make your heart pump harder and faster or dilate the artery supplying your blood. An electrocardiogram, so they'll put an EKG, which Tim never mentioned about sensors. He talked about going through a tube, which doesn't make any sense. At the time, I'm like, why is he talking about a tube? They were a CAT scan? What are they CAT scanning? Or an MRI? Were they doing an MRI? What were they doing an MRI of? I don't know. It just didn't make sense. Anyway, they do an electrocardiogram, the EKG, so they get you covered. Maybe they put a 12 lead on you. They're probably going to put at least an 8. I didn't think a 6 would be too little. I mean, I used to put 4 leads on patients all the time. But anyway, you receive medications that make your heart pump, and then they put the EKG in, and it captures your heart's electrical activity. Exercise stress test checks for signs of coronary artery disease. Now, you can get another one, which also involves an echocardiogram. So it's like the basic stress test, but it's a little bit more detailed. So they try to take the ultrasound of the heart before and at the peak of exercise. And I know Tim talked about getting an echo, but that wouldn't be for like a stress test. That would have been just to check maybe valves or for heart failure, something of that nature. But they can do this type where they do an echocardiogram, and they do a before. So they do the echo. So they get the echo going, and then they do it before, and then they get you at the peak of exercise because they see what's happening to the heart. And then these images are used to evaluate your blood flow through your heart, as well as the pumping chambers of your heart. So your muscle and the valve functions. Like I said, that's what they're looking at, really. And then this is the only reason why they would send you to the stress echocardiogram is if the results of your initial stress test are unclear. Well, Tim supposes he's still waiting for his results. I feel like it's going to be a very long wait. And so he said he supposedly passed the treadmill with flying colors. So I can tell you that if Tim is somebody who is not having any complaints of chest pain, has not had any complaints of shortness of breath on exertion, that means like literally feeling short of breath the second you walk like 5 steps. I mean, you see some of the patients that we look at, then the likelihood of them having put Tim on a medication to up his heart is 0 to none. No indication. And then stuck him on a treadmill after that? Does that never happened in a month of Sundays? That never happened. All right, we're going to go over to here to the, this is the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force. Now, they are not a government agency or anything. They are just a group that provides evidentiary materials in order for healthcare providers to make decisions on treatment, certain treatments. And we would look at this along with other guidelines. So, for example, for somebody like Tim, I mean, you would look at different things potentially, or you become very familiar with these, obviously, as you work in the profession. So here, if you have adults at low risk of a CVD, cardiovascular disease event, so this is a D grade. That means there's no sign of evidence, like nothing. It's like the bottom of the barrel. There's no reason to do this. This particular organization recommends against screening with resting or exercise electrocardiography to prevent cardiovascular disease and events in asymptomatic adults at a low risk of having these events. So they basically said, you just don't do that. Now, there's another group too that I wanted to show. Let me see if that comes up. Let me see. So I was looking around, maybe not. No. Oh. Hold on. I had found one of the guidelines here. Hold on. It was through this. Okay. So there's another guideline tier 2. And just to prove once again that Tim is full of just baloney, literally. And then we're going to see his most recent dentist trip. Is that, okay, so it very clearly says, now here, when you see B's and C's, this C is a little bit different. It actually means consensus. Disease-orientated evidence, usual practice. Usual practice, that's very important. Expert opinion or case series. So this means this is what the consensus is within the profession. This is what we go. This is a good evidentiary rating that this is what you should follow. And this is for somebody who's a family practitioner. So this is what they're saying to people like your PCPs and all those folks. What would you do? So for somebody like Tim, who has no symptoms, supposedly this coronary artery counseling company, he's got no symptoms with it. Just this erroneous test, which we know is probably not true because he's off the charts with it. Exercise stress testing is not recommended in asymptomatic patients to screen for coronary arteries disease. It's just, there's no evidence. Basically, just say, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Avoid it. Don't do it. There's no reason. Just not even this. It says, do not obtain baseline diagnostic cardiac testing or cardiac stress testing in asymptomatic stable patients with known cardiac disease. Undergoing low or moderate non-risk cardiac. Do not perform routine annual stress testing after coronary revascularization. So they're not even telling you to do it then. Patients who have no cardiac history and good functional status do not require it before a pre-op. Avoid cardiovascular stress testing. Avoid the stress echocardiography on asymptomatic patients who meet low-risk scoring criteria for coronary artery disease. And there was one of the times I've been live, I showed how we do that pooled cohort equation to actually decide the risk of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease in patients. Unfortunately, I cannot tell Tim's risk. Don't know his HDL, don't really know his blood pressure numbers. So I can't really, but take a look at his risks. He's still pretty young, but he's talking about having tests for like an 80-some-year-old. So this never happened. How could this happen? There's no reason. Absolutely no reason. And he just wants to talk about that coronary. He didn't even have a reason to get that coronary artery test. That, like I said, that cholesterol score would not have been enough to have precipitated that. Tim's not going to pay for something he wouldn't have needed. Testing asymptomatic patients without a history of revascularization is not recommended. Right here, Tim has never had a percutaneous intervention in his entire life. They very clearly state in everywhere, you just don't do it. So tell me how he got one. Anyway, all right. I'm going to be losing my audience on this one. So let's get back to Tim. But I did want to point that out because he talks about it so much. So, and I think it's really important for people to see the guidelines that we actually follow. And I can go to the American College of Cardiology too, and we could pull up. But these actually are really good ones that come through from the family practitioner, their guidelines, because they really talk about a lot of the things that patients would be going into their offices with. And so they have some really good guidelines. Now, the cardiology ones, they get really intense. And I've shown the one for the atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease and how you would treat these patients with statin medications and with exercise and dietary lifestyle modifications, all of that. That is how these patients would be treated. These stories that Tim is telling are not true. And that's not just my opinion. That I'm sure that's a fact. And I have offered him opportunities to try to debate me on that. Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I started Tim without sharing the tab. Sorry, Tim. Sorry, guys.
From the diets to the doctors to the Stalins. And, you know, I find it interesting. I listen to everybody. I don't take everyone's advice, neither should you. But it's good to get people.
Vicky, you know he's never seen a doctor. The only way Tim's going to be getting a percutaneous intervention is if they carry him in on a stretcher during a heart attack. Let's be honest. This man didn't even take care of his teeth. It's the only way that Tim Baker is rolling in to get any type of percutaneous intervention. So anyway.
You know, outside the box. Not just your doctors. Because let me tell you something. You're not always getting the truth from them. They're in business to make money. That's why they went to school for 8 or 10 years. They wanted to get rich. Speaking of getting rich, boy, what's the stock market doing?
Well, not yet, HHR. They're not getting anything from it yet. We just started, sweetie. You better go run back to Tim and let him know. You better let Tim know. I love a troll.
I didn't even check it today. People are, what's going on with this crazy market? I'm going to check it out. Right now, I got to get over here. I'm just on time. Being on time is late. I'm always early. And if I can't make it on time, which is very rare, I'm calling you, letting you know. Crush it.
No, that's not really what you're saying. All right, let's get back over to Tim, who also seems to have has recently bought some more subscribers because he went to 66.5. Tim, how are your views actually falling and your videos are getting less views and yet you're gaining more subscribers? How does that happen? Oh, and JJ gained like 5,000 recently. He gets 198 views to a video, but he went from 22.5 thousand subs now to like 27.5 thousand. How did he just gain 5,000 subs like that? It's incredible. Okay, Tim's got 2 new teeth. Let's hear about it, guys. This is fresh off the press. Let me make sure he didn't get, he got his Tim. He managed to get his little video in. All right. Take it away, Tim. And supposedly Tim's got plenty of money. He's got all these vehicles and he could sell one of his vehicles. You know, there's all sorts of ways to take Tim in small claims court and all sorts of stuff. He's just be covered with owing people money.
3 hours from noon till actually 3.25 hours. Everything I said, well, I didn't say anything bad except the prices. I have nothing but praise to say about this dentist office. I can barely talk. The office manager, the dental assistant, the receptionist.
Just cannot. He's got to come out here and grift for the money. Grift for the money. Here he comes. Here he comes. We're getting Judge Mathis. He's getting ready over here, Tim. He's getting ready. He's getting ready. This is fresh off the press.
The doctor. It would be hard. I would be hard pressed to tell you who was more courteous and more professional. The assistant that comes in that does the temporary and the prep work and all that, you know, the doctors do what they do, and then the assistant and then the assistant to the assistant. Everybody needs another set of hands.
I agree.
I mean, I can hear them talking back and forth. They're having a conversation like I'm not even there, regarding what the doctor likes to see after they get done.
Oh, I'm sure. I wonder what they thought about his T-shirt. Redeemed. I wonder which one of his subs sent him that. Redeemed. This man took almost $80,000 from the American taxpayer by falsifying PPP. Think Elon Musk coming for you, Tim. He's been going after people who frauded for unemployment. Supposedly, he thinks people like you are terrible. You're the fraud, waste, and abuse that he hated.
And press a string, or it's called a cord, between your gum to push it back or whatever, so the temporary can sit there and all this stuff. And how particular the doctor is, that she said, like a lot of dentists.
At the moment, I'm not currently going, but my attorney did point out about the cost and so forth and everything. So you never know. You never know. There's such a thing as small claims court.
They'll just drill with no water going on the tooth, which creates heat. And she's telling the assistant this because he was trying to learn. He's really the office manager, but he's helping out the things that, that he can do. And anyway, she was so, I picked up on the fact that she's very particular, like me. I like doing things the right way. And that's the way she rolls. My bite feels good, even though I'm numb. It doesn't feel like out of a...
Yeah, but Tim thinks he's going to die before that loan is fully paid. So Tim is betting on that he won't reach the 30 years, obviously, of the loan's terms. So he's still trying to figure out. And remember, he thinks his Social Security is all free money. So I don't think Tim deserves a penny from the American taxpayers, even if it's paid back.
alignment or anything. Of course, these aren't the real
That's just my
crowns
opinion.
yet. They have this thing called care credit that you apply for, and you can get 6 and 12 months interest.
Don't worry, we got plenty of videos of Tim talking about his assets. So we got plenty of evidentiary proofs of what Tim does. He can hide it, but we got all these videos where he talks about his truck, his cars, and everything he's paid off.
Free, depending how much money you ask him to give you. And I ask for the world, and you just spend it as you need. It's good for any...
Tim doesn't do anything, Tim gets further legal action. So as much as you seem to be on Tim's side, Tim is not going to be able to get out of this without the loss of his channel then, in my opinion. So that's the decision he has to make. So he's going to lose something.
Anything that dermatology, eye care,
that's my bet.
dentistry, prescriptions. I'm like, well, I got insurance for all that other stuff, except dental. It'll even...
Well, you don't seem to be very kind to me, towards me either. And as much as you think he doesn't have anything, he can't escape that potentially what will be the course of action if Mr. Baker decides not to take any action is that there will be action that's taken to YouTube directly then. I already know this. I already got all the evidence, all the exhibits put together. And then it's just YouTube's decision then.
be used and paid for.
And then they're not following their own policy. And then I get to make some videos and make money on AdSense for Google about that. So there we go. How about them apples?
It can pay for a root canal, which is just as much as a crown. I mean...
Well, I will also let you know, HHO, if you're thinking that's exciting, it's only $2.99 a month to join my memberships. And you actually get to see all the legal documentation then. Because I don't show it on this channel, on the public channel. So if you guys really want to see everything that the attorneys sent and hear the legal language, the members like Lance here and Sharon here, I hate to promote the memberships and stuff, but they do get the chance to see that. And I do try to keep it somewhat under wraps. One, because I don't want to give everybody free legal language. Two, I got to keep my cards to my chest. And three, at the moment, this one just got started. So as much as he can try to skirt and ignore it, it's going to come and bite him one way or the other. He's got 7 days to respond. Like I said, I don't talk much more. You got to check out on that because I have to obviously keep this. Also, It's a legal thing. So I can't talk about it that much, especially in a public forum.
And there's one more of it. There's 2, 3 more, but there's
Nobody's
one more over
doing
here
memberships. I'm so
that
disappointed.
needed to be done yesterday. That's just,
I should sound like a begging foodie beauty. Nobody's doing my memberships.
knocking on the door. And if I have to get a root canal on that one or any of these before they put the crowns on, I don't know what, because I've borrowed all I can and I'm going to spend and owe as much as I ever want to. I just don't know. But
oh, this is good to know, Tim, because I'm hoping now, because he's out at the dentist's office, he just popped home and got to read his letter. I think it's just, interesting. And I don't mean to get feisty about it, but this is, Americans are so familiar. And anyone abroad would be like, what is going on? Americans are so familiar with legal stuff. And they think that, like anything, if you just walk away and ignore from stuff, you have no repercussion. Well, let's look at Tim's teeth as an example. It really feels a perfect metaphor of ignoring things and walking away from it and not addressing it, and then potentially having all this going on. And now we've got Tim. This is for educational purposes. Right. I'm not here to treat or diagnose. That's right. And we do have memberships. Of which I'd use to help pay for getting Tim being exciting and interesting. And I understand the other person doesn't like Tim. It's just interesting that people always just assume that people can just keep escaping. I guess it's because we see a president who's potentially escaped from a lot of medical, a lot of legal things. So we just assume that it doesn't matter if you do. But I can promise you, Tim's idea of, where's he going to escape to? This is the United States. Is he going to go to Mexico and live to escape out of stuff? It's like, he left California to avoid child support payments, in my opinion. Sorry, I needed to bring out this character.
No. I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that's dry begging. Well, you know what that is.
Absolutely. And I just dry beg for some memberships, because obviously if we want to continue with our legal, but I have enough things now probably that I could present this now to YouTube without having to involve the attorneys from my end. Your bet is that Tim will ignore and lose his channel. That's the smart money. Well, we'll see what happens. And then he literally loses money, because the video that with his Social Security, he still gets views on that. I mean, it's almost gotten to 3 million, and it was much lower. So I saw comments that were just within a few hours on that video in a few days. So he still has probably gets more views still on that video than he does on some of the newer videos that he does. Just doing the newer videos probably keeps promoting the other video. So he knows he has to keep doing it. 30,000. Yeah, that's a lot of views. So he's making at least $5 to $750, we think, a month, depending on whatever they have for the AdSense at the time. He shouldn't be making that. He has no expertise. It's been debunked so many times, that video, and we still have been unable to have it taken for even, it's still there. That's all I'm going to say, because I'm not going to be brigading. I want to make sure I'm not brigading either. This is fair commentary and criticism of Tim and how he uses the YouTube platform, rather than, trying to bully and brigade Tim. It's just that Tim has had a lot of fortune that has come his way through, obviously we know certain things through the pandemic, and then, panini. Maybe that's the word that got me in trouble. I'm a healthcare professional. I can't even say that word. Through the panini, and it's crazy. YouTube is crazy. Crazy enough to keep this person who has requested his own subscribers just report channels for nothing, Veronica says, Ray, thanks for your bravery standing up to the YouTube rules and using attorneys. I feel will be successful. We can only see. I know how he's going to react, because we've seen it. He's going to probably have some hellacious Crushing It for Christ, hidden as a motivational clickbait video where he talks about, Eve being a demon. So I'm sure that it's going to happen. Oh, Mimi Seven Hearts became a member. Thank you, Mimi Seven Hearts. I really appreciate that. You get a chance to see me to review the counter notification that Tim got sent. And it was pretty spicy. And you get to hear the part about how Tim was explained what the term brigading is and social media. We talked about this one too, and how that's illegal and how him and his cohorts are brigading. So have fun with that. Yeah, we really appreciate it, Mimi. Welcome to the club. And I do gift memberships, 10 a month. I give 10 memberships a month. I do 5 for the Tim and 5 for the foodie fans. And we're going to be doing foodies differential eye diagnoses this weekend. So that's going to be fun. We're going to be talking about diabetes as always. All right, Tim, keep complaining. We love it.
I could not be happier with the fit, with the gap that I had from the tooth breaking being repaired. And I can't even tell. They look like original teeth. The only thing I'm having an issue with right now.
I was talking about Tim's good fortune. Apart from the Panini, obviously the amounts of money that he's made from that one Social Security video. And then just last year alone, he would put out one video of him walking Lido Beach and he'd get like 25,000 views. So he was making a lot of money from YouTube. He made a lot of money from YouTube. Hand over fist. He's not even spoken about his taxes. So he's talking about his teeth and what has he mentioned? Owing taxes? Because you're going to owe on that YouTube money for sure, Tim. That's definitely income. And then I don't know with whether we need to file for all the buy me a coffees and stuff. I need to figure that one out because I got to get my taxes done this weekend. I just file myself. I don't have a lot of write-offs with my channel. I think the amount that's allowed for the single person allowance is pretty much so I got all my W-2s and my 10 whatever, all my different things in. I just need to figure out the one for the buy me a coffee. I haven't seen that they sent me any tax papers, but I just need to check if they have something because I know there's certain tax laws on that. But I don't know for last year if I actually had enough that exceeds that limit. So I need to double check all that because there's a certain gifting amount, I think. Okay, keep going, Tim.
Now is speaking and feeling. And let me tell you, the doctor is a female, and she's extremely gentle. When she brought out that, you ever seen those needles they use? They're like stainless steel. They got these big, look like eyeglasses where they put their fingers in. Long needle. They don't look like a regular little, and so they always hide it behind their back and come in on you, right? Well, she did the same thing. I didn't look at it. I didn't see it today, but I've seen them. After she got done, and she was in there a while, like injecting and moving it around, and then she pulled it out. Like, oh,
yes, Tim has made a lot of money from a lot of different sources over the last few years. Tim had a lot. Nobody he talks about fortune and favor because Tim just like hit the mother lode of all of the grifts. And I feel like his YouTube too is because he's so disingenuous. The Social Security video has been debunked so many times by actual experts, but yet it's still, because it gets viewed, YouTube's still going to promote it out there. You put in 62, retire at 62, and that dang video probably comes up because it's had so many views. Oh, and if anybody, and it's just, oh my goodness.
Oh man. They told me, she says, tap your toes and breathe out your nose. And then the assistant was over there doing this on my shoulder, tapping. So they had all these distractions and it worked. I didn't feel a thing. And then she says, all right, one more. So she went and sucked up some more juice and came in there again. And of course I didn't feel that one for the simple reason
absolutely.
I was already numb. Although she said I might, because it's more to the front. But 2 big needles full, 3 hours of literal doctor operation, 2 teeth, drilling them down, then doing a buildup. I really did get.
How is this audience just not frustrated hearing this? How is it they just like, good luck with your appointment, Tim? Is it just the proximity to fame in their minds? Because half the time he doesn't even respond to the people who are regularly in his comment section. And it might not even be Tim. He said he had people now moderating because he's out here producing such great content. It'd be like me having taken you around the IKEA store today. You want to hear about my IKEA trip? I already bored you with some of my dental stories. Good Lord, Tim.
I know it's, very expensive.
I hate watch though.
And they make plenty of profit, but she also went to school for 9 years.
That's not happening, Norm.
And they got an office to pay for, and those other people got to get a, paycheck. So they gave me a discount, and everything. As I did talk to them, and they were willing to. That was another thing. They were willing to talk to me. Most places I go.
Well, you got lucky, Tim, that they were willing to talk to you. Most places aren't willing to talk to you. Because probably when you start talking about discounts and stuff, Tim, they probably think you're going to stiff them for the bill. Okay? That's why dentists get paid up front. They don't want to get stiffed and have to take you to a small claims court. It's expensive because it starts to involve attorneys. Attorneys are not cheap. Small claims you can probably do on your own. Maybe I should take, maybe we should take Tim on a judge, like one of these like TV show, like I should go on like Judge Judy or something and try to recuperate the attorney's fees and have him as the defendant. I would love to do that. Which one should we go on? Which court show shall we take Tim to? That would be a lot of fun. I would love to be on like Judge Judy and having him chew him out for something. Because he lost me my income on YouTube and tarnished my reputation.
Well, take it or leave it, buddy. There isn't anybody going to, say, well, we'll do this then. And then with the care credit, with no interest for 6 months or a year, somehow or another something happens and I have a good YouTube month, maybe a viral video or something, I can pay it off in the next year. So God's in control. It really worked out. The first place I called, I told you the story, she was like, well, we can't get you in for weeks. And it was just all about money. And this place here, I read their website. They talked about how they care about their patients and gentle and all that. And a lot of times these websites are just created.
Is Tim trying to work in for like a sponsorship? So they're like, please don't mention me on your YouTube channel. Please don't. Please don't. Especially if they checked him out and knew how problematic he was and knew that last time he mentioned that poor bagel shop, they got a huge number of, and I do not condone this behavior, okay? As funny as it was, I do not condone this behavior. Got some very interesting reviews. So I think Tim has realized that he can't promote but so many businesses because he's become such a polarizing figure on the YouTube platform.
Created and written to be, what you want to hear, right? What you want to read. But they literally are that way.
Probably does.
And I was there yesterday, I was there today, and I was there day before yesterday for the consultation and x-rays. I've been there 3 days now. And I have another visit to go back and have them put on, and then probably more visits to get the additional work done.
Wow. Sounds like you're going to see a dentist, Tim, for somebody who potentially has, his teeth do look cleaner at the bottom. So I do believe he's actually seeing the dentist. We already know that cardiology story is just absolute nonsense. Can we agree on that, please? Especially those IV sites. That is just, can you believe the medical scam on that? That is just what, and now he's like talked about the fact that he's not even had the results, and now the people in the medical field who watch his channel are like, hey, what happened? You have that outrageously high coronary artery calcium score, of which he never says the same number twice. It's all over the place. It's 15 something. 1511, 1575, 1576. I know sometimes not everybody's accurate, but if you're going to be out here trying to, really convince people of a story, especially on a YouTube platform, one thing's amongst your friends at your house. The other thing is when you're trying to sell a story. I know maybe he's being Tim, we know never happened in a million years. Never happened in a million years. I would bet my cease and desist on that.
And if I do anything, and I have to do it. I mean, this one over here is pressing
Hey,
on the
you
bottom.
buy me a coffee.
I'm not going anywhere
Let's
else.
cut
I
better.
have found the place. I haven't found the best deal. I could go to Mexico. I could go to Thailand. I could go to the Philippines. But I can also go back there if something's not right.
I know. How many hours was this after his visit? Because this doesn't sound like a man who's had like a bunch of Novocaine in his mouth. I literally cannot talk. He kind of started out. Have you noticed? Is this just me in my psychiatric mind? But did Tim seem to come on at the very beginning of this video and kind of feign like that sort of mouth that's a little bit more sort of mushy from having had Novocaine, and now he's speaking as clearly as ever. He doesn't seem to be drooling out the side of his mouth or have any of that discomfort. Promise you, when they've had to do anything like that in my mouth, it's like all day on the couch. It's so not comfortable. And this man's just chit-chatting away. Maybe they cleaned the teeth, but I don't know about him doing the rest because he seems way too comfortable. He hasn't seemed like he's once, and it takes like all day and all night. Like you don't even feel like you can eat. It's so uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? Am I a little bit wild here? Yes, he slurred. Thank you, Veronica. Do you hear him slurring now? How did his mouth just like remarkably like that? I mean, I know I have a little you couldn't talk for hours. You couldn't eat, yeah. I mean, I know it was a few hours after, but he seems, considering he just says, I got 2 new teeth, and he supposedly just left the dentist, he seems pretty chipper and not in a great deal of pain. I mean, if they had to do any type of Novocaine or anything, that this doesn't seem like, how did you get 2 new teeth? I do not believe this is a man who had 2 teeth drilled down for a crown. They are going to go in with, he said they wiped, he said he only wiped. Didn't mention anything about getting an injection in his gum line. There is no way they're going to drill your teeth without injecting into that gum line. And that, because I know my dentist like wiggles my gum, and she has a very high-tech office. And she wiggles the gum and getting the needle in. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Cody. Thank you for the super sticker. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. That's so sweet. You're always so sweet, Just Cody. Yeah, I feel like, he was fine after the deep scaling yesterday, too. I mean, his teeth just look whiter, but I mean, he could have put a dang bleach thing on that, and just bleached his teeth clean. Carl says, right, my mouth is not working right for hours after all that work. Isn't that right, Carol? Yes, absolutely. I mean, you're like literally, I'd like to see him start drinking the best cup of coffee ever. Because that thing will be like, out the side of your mouth. You had 2 things prepped for a crown. I mean, he didn't mention, he said they went around with the Q-tip to numb a little bit. And that sounds like maybe he got the scaling done today. But if they're going to go in and do any type of drilling, they're going in with a needle. And he didn't mention anything about that. Yeah, to use that big needle. Yeah, exactly, Stacey. He used that big needle. So he said that just use that big, that takes a while to wear off. But it doesn't sound like he's wearing anything off. That's the whole thing. He doesn't sound like he started at the very beginning of this video. We'll finish him out and we'll just double check. And just listen. He's only been on for a few minutes. Listen how he starts to slow at the beginning. And by the end, he's talking normal. He needs to go to Turkey. Yes, he does. Or Mexico. He said they used 2 big needles. He doesn't sound like he had 2 big needles in his mouth. I mean, you wouldn't even want to be making a video. I promise you. You'd be, just drooling. I think he's faking. You thought Teabag was his mom? Oh, Adam, that's a sting. All right, carry you out, Tim, and then we're gonna. It's only not even 10 minutes. This video. That's what I'm so. It's Tim.
You know, you leave
So
Mexico
bad.
and it falls out or something's not right.
Huh?
You got no recourse. Now I know that they do a good job for people.
Tim, I mean seriously. I promise you, my dental work that I had done in Mexico, my American dentist said it was some of the best porcelain inlays she'd ever seen in her life. So I think, I mean, yes, you have to do your due diligence and research. I wouldn't go to the first dentist office across the border. If you go to a good dentist in Mexico City, probably going to get good work. But you're going to have a long holiday, so buckle up. And Tim, I don't think Mexico a good plan for you. And if you do go to Mexico, let me know exactly when and where you're going. I have a lot of friends in Mexico, and I'm sure they'd love to meet you.
And, you know, like fillings and things like that. But something like this, I don't know. People can disagree. I'm not going there anyway. I mean, Mexico is nowhere near here. If I was in California or Texas or Arizona, and that's where I lived, and it wouldn't be any problem going back or, you know, close to go there and do it, yeah, I'd do it maybe. Of course. I ain't scared, but I am scared to get that kind of work done, even though it's a fraction of the cost, and then leave and it fall out and then got to go somewhere else, you know, not going to do that. So that's the story. And now it's over to Harbor Freight to get another polishing pad and some more wax. And I would really like to work on the truck and polish it. I can't eat today. I can't eat on this side. I can't floss.
How come he doesn't seem like he's... He doesn't sound like somebody... He must... Has it been that long since he put the video out? I mean, it's not that long. If the video's been out for like an hour or so, and he would have had to have time to upload it. And he said he went... I don't know. I think he'd be talking this clearly. Especially if you're not somebody who's had dental work. You'd be in a lot of discomfort, Tim. How come he doesn't seem like somebody... It's that fake slur at the beginning. We're going to hear it, and then we'll finish out, guys.
I can't. I'm supposed to use a gargle of salt water. And so I'll be fasting the rest of the day. Good thing I had that chorizo and egg this morning. I forgot all about it. I might not be able to eat it all. Plus, I'm numb. I'd probably bite right through my lip or my cheek. So can't do that. But one thing I am doing is crushing it.
All right, let me not get in trouble for his terrible... I don't want to get copyright. I sped it up there slightly. I don't think that was 15 seconds. Let's hear at the very beginning where he said he just went to the dentist again. And that was a very good point about paying for the attorney there. Let's see. Let's share that again. Oh, God, that's a terrible face of me. Oh, gosh. I obviously don't care what I look like on screen. Lord of my life. Okay, let's hear if he's slurring at the beginning. Because we just heard the end. And did he miraculously heal himself through the grace of the good Lord above so fast this evening that we'll see Tim? I guess Tim can't do a cooking video tonight because he's not really supposed to eat.
So what an experience that was. 3 hours from noon till actually 3¼ hours. Everything I said...
I guess not.
Well, I didn't say anything bad except...
I guess he wasn't slurring. Maybe I thought he was slurring. So no slurring. That was just a thought he was slurring at the end. But how is it only 3 hours? And he doesn't sound like he's been to the dentist, though. I mean, that's one heck of a dentist. If you're out of there and you haven't even got a slurry, you know, you don't even seem like you've had any needles in your mouth.
The prices. I have nothing but praise to say about this dentist office.
I mean, he definitely looks like he has clean teeth. Who knows with him? I don't know. I don't know with Tim. I have very hard time now because I just feel like it doesn't seem. He doesn't deserve it. He burns through his own money for, nonsense and wants his subs to pay for his unfun things. Yes. Pay for his gas for his trip out to play golf. Really? I mean, not that, I don't ask for, things to keep my channel going. And obviously it's a little side hustle and it doesn't really make me a lot of money. I'm going to reveal my W-2 from last year to the audience and the members only, just to have a good chuckle. See how little really I've supposedly made all this money off of Tim's notoriety and stuff. It really is because I enjoy doing it. And because obviously I, as a medical professional, feel that there's a duty to let people know when people are either giving really bad health advice or literally just making up stories about doctor's visits, and definitely the cardiologist. He gave all sorts of dates as to when he was supposed to be following up with this cardiologist. And I'm wondering if these are dates that Fred has maybe asked him to take him to appointments because they're doing testing and they don't want the person driving, especially if they're cardiac people. Vicky said he's afraid of the dental school. Suppose they hurt him when he tried 1 year ago. I mean, his mouth was probably infected. I mean, who knows with Tim? I mean, I got my teeth cleaned at like a dental hygienist school, like I said, with students who were just about to graduate at the local college here. And they did a great job. So I've taken such good care of my teeth. I was like, oh, well, let me go let some students play on my teeth. That's a way to give back to the upcoming medical and health professionals. So somebody has to, and I have fairly easy teeth to take care of, so I'm not particularly concerned. And obviously I still see a dentist. So it's just, it's been a way as a student too, to help, manage some of my costs. Because sometimes I don't always work full time with my nursing employer. So it's hard to they have to maintain a certain hourly amounts, in order to get the insurance. There's only certain times a year. And so I just rather pay out of pocket at this point. So Gen X says, Dummy needs polishing pads because he keeps polishing the RV dirty. Oh my gosh. He's going to have to, it's a good job he's got, you're back. Hey, come on in. So it doesn't seem like he was slurring. That was just me. I always had Carol convinced there too, I think. I felt like he was like kind of laying it deep. I don't know. Maybe he's a little swollen here. Who knows? That's just the car seat. I don't know. Has Tim put out any other videos? We're going to wrap this up, guys. Let me see. We got anything interesting? Like, how do you get another bunch of subscribers? I bet if we go onto Social Blaze, we'll see that Tim has literally had, here's one of his hater videos right here, guys. You can't believe a darn thing those haters say. Haters gonna hate. Yeah, that's right, Tim. He's got one where he talks about Chris Google Maps, talking about haters. Oh, yeah, Tim loves the haters. All right, let's see. Oh, he got 2 new teeth. Look at Tim. 2 new teeth. Let's see what the comments say.
Office.
Okay, what does his comments say? Let's see what we got here. Let's see who came in first. Holy Guacamole came in with crushing it with 2 new chompers. Kathleen says, that's it. God is in control. No worries. Tim, you're on your way to better health. Because he's got his redeemed shirt on, you see. They want to know if you got gold or silver. Angel Mission hopes it was a good experience. Glad you have. Maybe you won't need the root canals. Well, he's being sent supposedly over to the endodontist. That's probably because they can already see he needs root canals. That's why they send you to the endodontist, because that's a referral for a root canal. So is he supposed to get endodontistry work done? Because you're going to have to wait and get that done before they can put your crowns on. Otherwise, you're going to drill through your crown, Tim. And then you're going to have a blue thing over it. Because I've had that happen before. Where I've had a tooth with a crown. And then along the lines, it had to have a root canal on that tooth. And they literally just drilled through my crown. And then my dentist ended up putting like some blue composite over the top. And then something happened. I guess some dental decay got under there because it's still, part of a tooth and things happen. I had to have a whole nother crown put on it. So think about the cost of that. So welcome to the club, Tim, if you really are getting it. Pity Power says, awesome, you got the new teeth. Hope they work out for you. Especially they're just temporary, so he hasn't gotten the new teeth, Pity. Keep it straight. Glad you're doing well. Silver medal winner, says Tatman. Hang in there, Tim. You've only got 30 more teeth to start drilling on. LOL. Bello is glad it worked out for him. Since you like the dentist, stay and build a relationship with her and hopefully you can get some discounts. Oh, gosh. And then Full Hammer says, glad you got it done. It's a time-consuming experience. Man, I hate that gunk they put in your mouth for the impressions. That's worse to me than the numbness, LOL. Well, I wonder how Tim's feeling now that he potentially checked his email addresses and saw that he got other stuff. Let me take him off my channel so I make sure that I'm doing Tim safely here. Oh my God, that's way too much of me. It's too much of me. Too much of me. Hey, Ross. I hope not. But he did like to drink alcohol. And again, the alcohol could potentially do damage to your teeth over time. And as we age too, our enamel just gets worn because we eat and drink and, do things. That's why it's good to eat, actually, some cruciferous vegetables sometimes, and apples, very good for the teeth. Vicky said, I had my root canal first before the temporary. Well, usually that's the way it goes, but I wasn't needing a root canal at the time. I've just had crowns, because of just, that's the only option. And then I later on had to have root canals. I've had it both ways, actually. I've had root surgery. I've literally had it where they've had to pull the root away and take the ends off because there was some mess up and then get the root stuck back in with the root canal. And then that thing got an implant on top of that years later. So everything ended up coming out on that tooth. Because they don't just say, oh, well, in the future, that's probably going to be an implant. You literally have to go through all these different steps as it gets, more and more. So you're just spending thousands and thousands of dollars on each individual tooth as it goes along. Oh, thank you. That's for Miss Vicky. I know that is for Miss Vicky. I don't think he smoked crack, said Dr. Falcon, but he did freely admit to being a heavy weed smoker. I don't know if that did damage to his teeth unless he didn't brush his teeth. But obviously the smoke not good on the gums. Is that how it works at the dentist? Building a relationship gets you a discount? Yes, I guess that's true. That'll be Tim's next friend that he'll be visiting for dinner and hoping that they'll do his laundry. Catherine says your teeth do actually look quite beautiful. No, I do not have the foodie tooth filter on. Well, these are crowns down here. These are actually my real teeth. Yes. It's amazing when you spend. And my dentists are very good at making my teeth look natural and the colors to match and stuff. A lot of cosmetic dentistry on here, which is not covered often by insurance. So when you want to get the real pretty cosmetic stuff done, sometimes it's not as inexpensive, especially when I was young and I obviously didn't want to have, wearing a bridge or something like my poor grandma had to have. So I've, still have to deal with the teeth. It's never ending. It's never going to be ending. I always joke I'll just be all implants one day. Tim is lucky he was past the age to use meth. Yes, probably. I know a lot of people say crap. Oh, yes. Well, I can promise you, that's one of the things that does lead to heart disease. So maybe Tim does have risk factors like that we're unaware of. But he seems to love running sprints and stuff. If you want to join the community, make sure to hit the likes. Tim is no longer debt-free. He is going to have to change his taglines. There's no longer hashtag debt-free living, which we already know is not true because he's paying the $58,000 EIDL loan at $300 a month at a very low interest rate. And anybody would tell him that it would not make sense to have used any of his major profits from YouTube to pay that loan off. Not at such a low interest rate, especially if you could die before the loan was fully, due. So I'm sure he is not really debt free. He just, it's an image that he wants to try to portray because that's what he wants to sell. Tim covets, all these he lives in a very expensive, I mean, he doesn't personally, but he lives next to a very exclusive area. And Sharon will let you know. Sharon, not to dox anybody, but is in Florida and can attest to the fact that Sarasota is a beautiful city and it's very expensive. I've had other people who have like vacation homes in Sarasota. This is a ritzy area. That's a ritzy place. And somebody like Sarasota Tim, with his skin that doesn't look like he wore sunscreen, he just does not, doesn't matter how many big trucks, fake Rolexes or Rolex watches or expensive shoes or any of these things, Tim is always going to look like somebody who either got his money through, building houses and literally doing construction because he spent so much time outdoors. But he's a man who just said he went to a dermatologist, but then has complained that he didn't get slightly burnt at the beach and didn't get enough color the other day. And I say that Tim has openly showed his naked body last year on YouTube and yet would not show his sutures on his chest. That to me is just another, just Tim is just trying to perpetuate this narrative that he is constantly seeing doctors, has got all this money to see on doctors. And I think in reality, he has squandered his money. He's not making the money that he did from YouTube. He potentially is not getting all the Social Security if he's outstripped his income. He's not quite at full Social Security age where it doesn't matter anymore. I think he's getting close to that, or maybe he is at this point. There's a certain age where it didn't matter what his income was. He could make as much as he wants now. If you reach a certain age of full retirement, then the other income, you can make as much. You don't, limited. So I think he's somebody who's suddenly, came into some money and he's not made great decisions. I mean, in reality, with all the, he paid off. Oh, gosh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Anyway. All right, guys. This weekend, I'm trying to see what time, probably tomorrow. I am going to, like I said, I'm going to go with, I didn't know if to make it a video or a live stream, the differential diagnoses for Chantel's eyes, because she was in a video recently rubbing her eyes and complaining about the leaking and the swelling and stuff and floaters. Oh, God. She's going to go blind in one eye, at least for now. Tax time is in 4 days. Exactly. Have we heard Tim talk about taxes yet? Tim's not said one thing about taxes. He's not mentioned how much he's going to owe taxes because he's self-employed with YouTube. He's a 1099. So even if they don't have Social Security income taxes, he's going to have to pay income taxes on the YouTube money. So I hope for all his talking about all this and his thoughts, is he trying to get money for his taxes by talking about medical stuff and trying to get his subs to pay for his taxes after they already pay through, like you guys do, watching, sending buy me a coffees, when you watch all the way through and like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, it like boosts up your AdSense and YouTube is, happy to show your videos to your audience, this, that, and the other. So, and you'll find that my videos will not say, hey, we're just wrapping up, Cole, but I'm glad you made it. He turns in all those McDonald's receipts, says Darling, and thinks it's a business expense he can deduct. Oh, I'm sure, because he's making a video about it. Tim has probably never paid taxes. I wonder what happens when he never pays the IRS. Maybe nothing. Not sure they can dox his $18.50 a month Social Security check or not. No, I'm not sure because there were going to be some changes in the tax laws, I believe, regarding taxes on Social Security income. But irregardless of the Social Security income, the YouTube income is not Social Security. That is full-on income, regardless of whether you are 57 or 67. So, in that respect, there are taxes still due on that money. You're not absolved, sadly, of taxes by aging, even though that would be lovely. It doesn't happen like that. Lives on the fringe, he says himself. There are plenty of people who live here that aren't wealthy. Most bought homes before the booms. Yes. And that's, you get very fortunate if you were lucky enough to buy, and a lot of us of our generation, we have been so much more fortunate here in the United States to have been able to purchase homes that were, the price of vehicles at the time. So, it's the person who liked to dox my information, wanted to rub it into my face that I had all this equity in my home. Well, how is that? I know you're doxing my home address, but now you're just trying to tell people that I'm worth robbing? I mean, what are you trying to say? Trying to get me hooked up with somebody who's trying to get a hospice wife and a nurse with a purse? What's up? Dr. Falcon says, Tim at the tax office, I use the McDonald's. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? I mean, he every shirt he bought at Walmart, every grill, everything, every one of those items, probably even the food he buys at Walmart. I wonder if he thinks that's a tax deductible because he made a video of him shopping at Walmart. Does that mean I should write off if I make more videos at the Trader Joe's? Maybe I should just make videos of me shopping at all times. I mean, there has to be at a place where only but so much can be expensed out through your YouTube channel. I mean, I'm sure for a lot of people, the idea of having a channel and whatever you show on your channel, does that mean I get to write Junebug off as a tax write-off now? Because that'd be great. I mean, I'm sure one reason he doesn't give to the homeless, they don't give receipts. McDonald's does. Yeah, unfortunately they don't. Yeah, and if he actually donated to real charities, he could actually get some charitable expenses. But that's also the other thing that you have to think when you're filing your taxes. So unless you really think especially for me as a single person, I don't buy a lot for my YouTube channel, obviously. I don't think I have enough to make up for the single person allowance and write-offs, even with my side hustle. I don't think writing off, because by the time you've added on filing for each of these little things into your tax return is going to be so expensive to file with the software companies, because every little thing you start to add on starts to, add up to the cost of the return. It's I've done that before. I've taken the time to add in all my property taxes, and, I'm not at a place now because I'm so far into my mortgage. I don't have the mortgage interest to write off anymore. And I think they were getting rid of that anyway. I think half of the stuff that I was writing off, they don't even have any further. So, and the thing is that Timmy needs to keep all those medical receipts then, because you can definitely write off like your medical taxes. So maybe he's just trying to got some medical write-off there, because if it's 10% of your income, I think it is. It used to be 7. I used to make it to 7. Then when they increased it to 10% of your income to write off, then it was much harder. I'm like, my God, I was like, I'd be broke if I spent that much out of pocket in my medical on top of, I was just like, I do okay as an RN, but not like that, to be able to afford to spend 10% of my, 10% as you get higher becomes higher amounts of money, So that means you're spending a lot on medical. So I guess it works if you have like major medical conditions and so forth, and you really do have, some outrageous, but I've never, at the moment, I haven't reached that point. So I can't write off any of that stuff either. So you think he should, Sharon says, I would think he would be flagged to his sudden YouTube wealth. Well, you would think that Tim would be flagged for a lot of stuff by now, because there's still people going to prison for those PPP and EIDL loans. So, nurse with the person of U.S. citizenship. Yes. And hablo español también. So I can act as an interpreter. They raised the standard deduction. You can't write off anything. Yes, I know. I'm right there with you, HR. That they raised it. There's like no write-off anymore. The fun write-off days are gone. I must admit, I took advantage of that write-off system many years ago when I was a student. I had a great tax accountant. She really did a good job, literally to the point where the government was sending me money. It's just like my doctor that I used to work for at the time used to get so mad. I had this poor little nursing student, but I would always he's like, how do you get so much money? I swear some years I was seemingly getting more than I paid in. So, but I was writing off in taxes. I was a student and all sorts of stuff. So I guess I had all these things that, equated, it was all legal and above board. So I never got audited. So that was up to my tax accountant. I just came in. I just had a lot of write-offs in those days. When I was traveling as an RN as well, I had a lot of that because there's all sorts of stuff. So I've dealt with a lot of taxes, and it just is interesting that Tim has not. Salvation Army donations, baby, absolutely, and paint. Oh, he's going to be. So his dentist office went from extortionist to the greatest thing ever. Does he not realize how ridiculous he sounds? No. He wants to talk because maybe he's scared now that if he went and blabbed about, you got to check my Sarasota Tim YouTube. Amazing he wasn't wearing one of his Sarasota Tim YouTube t-shirts. Must be in the laundry for poor Rafaela to wash. If they watch, he obviously doesn't want to be bad-mouthing the dentist now, does he? Because maybe then he'd get even more attorney letters. Another cease and desist. He'd just be racking up cease and desists all day long. And mortgage interest. I don't have enough mortgage interest now because I'm now at the place where I'm paying, more principal than interest. I've luckily reached around that point in my mortgage, or I think I'm like matad, like half and half, like around there. But it's never enough. It's still not enough because I got a cheap mortgage, remember? Because I bought back in the day. So I have like a mortgage, and mine's like more like an apartment, than mortgages that people pay now because I've owned my property for an extended period of time. All right, guys. Well, we will see how he goes with his rest of his videos now that he's got to pay for all this dental costs. And at this time, Mr. Baker hopefully has opened his emails for the day and has now been able to see the paperwork that he has received. So I think if I have, because I have a lot of housework to do, but I got to put up this Ring camera. Here, maybe I should put this as a tax write-off because of the fact that since Tim decided to dox my home address, I got to make sure now. This doesn't even match the outside of my house, but it was on sale for a spring Black Friday at one of the home repair stores. And it was the camera and the Ring. And it was like on a really good price. So I was like, I don't care because the other one wasn't on the really good price like this one. This one was like at a really good price. And I'm like, now I'm excited because I can watch Junebug throughout the day on my phone. So I'm really excited. At that, I'm very excited about. And then I got the little backup battery to go with it. So I was very excited to finally decide that it's about time that I just, got with the technology on my condo. And so I got to figure out how to put that up. I got drills and stuff. So I have a drill. So I'm going to figure out, probably watch a YouTube video. We'll see if Tim had a sticks and a brick. I could watch his YouTube video about putting on my Ring camera. But I hear it's very easy. I have the battery operated, so I'm not trying to wire anything in the house. So I understand if it's battery operated, it's much easier to install. So a condo is an ownership flat. Yes. So condominiums are ones that would be owned by an individual, and an apartment is one that's generally a rental here in the United States. So you can own a condo and rent it out, obviously, to people, but generally, if it's like a block of them, it's going to be apartments. You're in coastal Southern California. I can still write stuff off. It's expensive here. Yeah. California, bless your heart. And Virginia, it's not cheap. We're like California light over here a little bit, and not that light on the prices. Like people would always say, "Oh, we're gonna go, to Virginia, and because it's so inexpensive." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Anywhere you go on a coast, it's not gonna be cheap." It's just not going to be cheap, especially if it's in a city. It's got stuff. I mean, they're building a wave park and all sorts of stuff. They got all sorts. I tell you, it was hot last weekend, and the place like blew up. It's just like already like Catherine, you would have loved it. Everybody was out there on their you have a condo. Then you have a condo, Catherine. You're a condo girl. Everyone was out in their golf carts, Catherine. You would have loved it. Especially in this town. I think they feel it's safer that they can drink and drive the golf carts and won't get a DUI. I think that's what they're hoping. Because I can promise you, in the city of Virginia Beach, there's a lot of drinking going along with that. There's a lot of drinking. I mean, people start out early in the morning here. It's not unusual for people to start out a Sunday with a Bloody Mary. And we're talking early. So, yeah. Anyway. All right. Here's how it goes down. Tim doesn't respond, loses channel. He's a flathead. That would probably be the result I think most of us would like to have. We'll see what his response is. And then we'll see. Because obviously, I'll share this with the members only, just because I can't divulge everything, obviously, because I don't want to give away too much information. And Tim's family or his friends are going to have to pay then to listen to my attorney tactics. You think that the ring doorbell is a valid deduction since it doesn't disclose your address? I really would think so, but I don't even know where it would go. I'm sure I could do like home office for YouTube, but the problem with that is, and I had it before where I actually owned a business. Okay. I kept track of my mileage. I did all of these things. So I had my own business, and I still think that my single person allowance was still more than my write-offs. So now they've increased that single person allowance. I don't write off enough. It's like 14 grand or something I have to find to write off. Where am I finding 14 grand on my YouTube channel? My YouTube channel doesn't make $14,000. I'm not suing him, Andy. And if you want to find out more, you're going to have to join my memberships. So there you go. I'm not suing him. I don't understand why everyone thinks there's a lawsuit. If anything, I would go to small claims court for certain things. I would not be suing him. Do you know how expensive a lawsuit is to start? We can let YouTube take care of him. People always go to the most dramatic things here in this country. Yeah, please read. Yes, Andy. Andy reviews food. We only want you to review Tim's food. I have a ring camera inside your home and the garage. They function as an alarm system. The whole reason I got this is a water softener guy was skipping deliveries and lying about it. Oh, God. Oh my gosh. Well, I got mine. Just one, it's safe, and two, like I said, I could actually, because it's got the little camera, I'm gonna set this up in the house. I can watch Junebug bees all day. I can put it right here in the living room and see how she like runs around. See what she's up to. My neighbors tell me that she like goes nuts at the French windows all day, and that like look over, because I have this like balcony with the French like the doors. And she just like goes nuts. I won't even have a nice curtain there. Just have those blinds hanging because There's no point. The dog's going to rip down the curtain probably. Why does water need softening? What's happening over Well, California's on a hard coastline, girl. We have a lot in common. Single woman, so age, God, it is professional, confident, not silly. I like that about this community. We have a great community here. A lot of really smart, awesome male and females, and however you identify within your gender. We don't care around here. We're open, you know. So I like to have as secular of everything as possible. It's way more fun. Johnny One says, I'll go this for dental and pay cash. Oh, yeah. Well, they have some great dentists in Mexico. So anyone who's close to the border, you know, you're very fortunate, because I would definitely be going to get my dental care. One, I speak fluent Spanish. And two, I had very good dentists in Mexico, and I have no problem with that. Oh, there you go. You guys make sure you swap information. All right, guys. I've had fun. I'm going to let everyone get to dinner. And I'm going to get some dinner. And we'll see you on the next one. Because like I said, those of you who like Chantel, I am going to give my 3 differential diagnoses. Not treating or diagnosing, okay? Just what would I potentially diagnose her? What 3 differentials would I give her if I was starting to do my diagnostic tree? Because we always think of 3 things, okay? That's kind of what we did. We think of 3 potential diagnoses, and then we try to get, obviously, you know, narrowed down to that. So, you know, so just when the patient presents, then we try to narrow it down to where we think it could potentially be. You know, obviously knowing different guidelines, systemic things that happen within patients, looking at labs. I mean, it's a whole variety of things. And so we're going to look at Chantel's eye. She needs to get that eye seen too. She's going to go blind. That's free advice, Chantel, and you're very welcome. I don't treat or diagnose. That would be the one advice I would give you as a medical professional. You just got back from the shower. Well, we're just finishing up Angela Glass, and I wanted to thank my moderators, Angela Glass. I was just saying Angela Glass. I will be going live with some foodie stuff this weekend, so look out for that. I wanted to thank Catherine, too, our wonderful moderators. Anybody else like to be a moderator? Let me know. It's not really much to do other than kind of help me keep an eye on the chat. It's not like you have to be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You don't have to go into my comment section. I do all that myself. All right, guys. I had fun. It was a blast. Randy reviews food. You know, I'm just glad you joined us, Andy. It was an interesting ride. Like I said, if you want to learn more about Tim's counter notification that he received from my attorneys after he falsely copyright struck me because he doesn't understand what fair use is, then go take a look. And now, because Tim has been a persistent brigader, cyberbully, harasser, and making frivolous copyright strikes that have harmed my channel, then obviously he's being requested not to continue with those behaviors. And if he does not respond with how he is not going to continue these behaviors, then anyway, that's all I'm going to say, because you'll have to join the members onlys to find out more. So once we'll be looking forward to that, because we're going over that slowly. All right, guys, I did want to thank Mimi 7 Hearts here. Sorry, I did not read that correctly for becoming a YouTube member. I sent her over to look at some fun legal stuff, so have fun. And Just Cody, awesome, sending super stickers, and we certainly do appreciate that. You guys have a wonderful Friday. If I don't see you this weekend, my favorite, Cougar Sand. Well, Cougar Sand used to be so proud of Tim because he wore his Redeem t-shirt today. So Brother Tim is spreading the word. All right, guys, we are going to finish it out here. I had a great time chatting. See you on the next one. Bye.